Hello everyone, very good morning. So we'll start now. Let me share my screen.
Morning, sir.
So, so now we're going to discuss about data masking. Data masking. So before that, so what we have done. So in the last session we saw that so how to work with a cloning, right? And then so what is the advantage behind the cloning? So now we will see data masking. So what is this data masking? Generally, so hiding the information from some of the users or some information we don't want to display it to some HRs, also we don't want to display it to some developers, some information we don't want to display it to the testers. In this particular situation, so what is the option we are having in Snowflake is that is data masking. So we can call it as a data masking. So we will call it another way. So PII information. So personal identifiable information. So we are going to mask. So it means, so let's say for example, so let's come to our Snowflake account. Okay, so let me log into our Snowflake account. So this is our account details. The username, then password. Okay. So generally, so if we observe the data from any one of this particular table, so what we can able to see, we can able to see all the data, right? So if you logged in with so any user, so this is the user, and then so these are the roles, right? These are the roles automatically it has been created with the Snowflake when you created a trial account, right? So like account admin, system admin, public, all these are the different roles which is it available, and all these roles for this particular user, whatever the user we have, and then whatever the roles we have for this, all these roles by default you have access to all the tables, all the databases. Now, so if you observe, see this, when you fetch the data from the table, we can able to see employee name, employee salary, and then so employee location something, right? But so when you are so firing the data, when you are fetching the data from this particular table, when you fire a query on this particular table, so this particular data, for example, employee salary, it should not be visible to some developers, and employee age should not be visible to so analyst. So these kind of information we can able to hide by using data masking concept. Data masking concept when it is coming to especially PII information. So we are going to mask the data. So what exactly the PII information is? Now observe this. These are the PII information. Any person identifiable personal information. We used to call it as a PII, personally identifiable information. Now if you observe, for example, the social security number or PAN card, Aadhaar card number, biometric data, and then the full name, and then account number, the address, vehicle number, so medical history, date of birth, email address, phone number, so fax number. So right, so their personal the website information, right? So geographical information, their location information, all these things. So we can consider the PAA information. So based on business requirement, so what we need to do is, for example, if any user logged into this particular account, if they are so fetching the data from this particular table, they don't want to see the salary. Instead of the salary, so we want to display something. For example, when you type your password, so no, so when we are typing, we cannot able to see, right? The same way here, so we want to hide this information. So based on the user and then role, based on the user and then based on the role what you are going to assign. To do this, what we will do is to implement a data masking. So what the approach is, so we need to create a data masking policy first. We need to create a data masking policy. This masking policy need to be applied for the roles. For the roles. Once this policy is applied for the roles, this masking, so we are going to apply for the table, and so within the table for the particular columns, any column you can able to apply. So number of masking policies you can able to create, it doesn't matter, so it doesn't so restrict. So you can create n number of masking policies, and then we can apply this masking policy for the so specific column inside the table. So for example, you created a masking policy to hide employee salary, and then you apply it to the specific role, for example system admin. And then so that when you logged in with system admin or account admin, so you cannot able to see the values here. You cannot able to see the values. Now if you log in with so some other user, and then if you so logged in with specific role, for example account admin here, so then only you can able to view some information from this table. So otherwise, so it is not possible. So here, so those things, so hiding the information, so based on the specific role we are going to apply, specific role we are going to apply. But here we have a default roles. In this particular session we will see, so one more thing also, how to create a roles, how to create roles, and then so how to assign this to the user, specific user. So what are the user we are going to create, and then so what are the permissions we need to give this particular role once it is created. So we need to give the permissions, so for the database, for the schema, for the table, for example. So whatever the roles we have here, these roles by default we have a access to whatever the databases we have, all the databases, all the schemas, and then we have a so warehouse permission also, right? So if you have a warehouse, then only we can able to fetch the data, right? These roles is having permission to the databases, schemas, and then table, as well as for the warehouse, right? But particular role, assigned to this particular user, right? Now so let's say, so any specific role we will create, and then we will give the permission to the database or table, whatever the table we are going to create. Then we will see, so how to assign the masking policy, how to create a masking policy. And one more thing, you can create masking policies, a number of masking policies, there is no restriction. But one thing we need to remember is, when you are creating for the numbers, we need to create a separate masking policy. For the strings, we need to create a separate masking policy. For the numbers, so it should be a separate masking policy. For the strings, we need to create separate masking policy. When you are applying for the numbers, we need to apply numbers masking policy. When you are applying for the strings, you need to apply string masking policy. So this one, so we need to remember. And one more thing is, so here, so we can apply this masking policy for the columns. It means columns means nothing but, for example, from this particular table, when I am fetching, so I don't want to see the data from this particular, the employee salary values. So we don't want to give the access to any developer, or we don't want to give access to about the employee location. So for any tester, okay. So then we can hide the information. So those information what we can do is, so we can apply for the columns. We can apply for the column level. When you are applying for the column level, the restriction is all columns. We cannot apply at the same time. All columns we cannot apply on same time. What we have to do is we have to apply the masking policy one by one column, one by one column. This is the only restriction when you are applying. So for example, so when you are so inserting the data, we can insert all the data at the same time, right? But so when you are applying, this is a column level. So column level, we cannot apply all the columns at a same time. The masking policy, we have to apply one by one column. So you can apply a number of columns. So in a table, so I want to hide salary, I want to hide employee ID, I want to hide location. So the like this n number of columns you can apply. There is no restriction. But one by one only you have to apply. So once the masking policy is applied, then that particular user, that particular role cannot able to access the data. So this is the additional security the Snowflake has given so far, so access the data. So here, so let's see so how we are going to implement this data masking policy. First what we will do is, so we will try to create a so table and then roles. So then so we will see so what are the other things we can able to perform here. Now if you observe, okay, let's create a these roles here. If you want to create a roles, we can able to create by using, see this one, account, and then here also we have a roles, right? Here also we can able to create a roles. This is the option. So this is by using GUI. You can create a user, you can create a roles by using GUI. So this is one option. Another option is, so when you create by using this, so by default the role will be created, you will have all the permissions, right? You will have so all the, but we cannot specify so for exactly for any table, or so nothing but you cannot give grant permissions here when you created a role. For example, if you observe, see this one. So we are creating a, and then we are assigning the so any specific role. So which role it has to copy, and then you can give the command, right? Then the role will be created. But we cannot give the permissions, grant permissions, especially for which database, which table it has to be accessed. For that, so what we will do is we will create by using the worksheet, by using GUI, what we are trying to do. So it, and one more thing, when you are creating this particular so masking policy, always it has to be in account admin role, account admin role, or security admin. When we are creating a tasks also, so we discussed that so tasks should be created by using account admin or security admin, right? The same way, when we are creating a masking policies also, it has to be account admin or security admin. When we are creating these roles, you can create by using only account admin. Other roles cannot able to perform. Other roles, this is the super user for us. Account admin is the super user. Here only we can able to create a roles. So with, for example, if you logged in with other, so for example, system admin, public admin, security admin, you cannot able to create a role. Now we are creating three new roles. Observe this: analyst, and then business and developer. These roles is not available here. See this, can you able to see the roles? Admin, sorry, developer, business analyst roles are not available. Now see this, what we are doing, we are creating the roles here. New, three new roles we are creating. One is analyst, one is business, another one is developer. We created three new roles. Now so what it is telling, it's created successfully. When you run one by one, it will tell you so for all the things it's created successfully. So here, so we executed all at the same time. It's created all the things, and then so last command execution, it will display in the output here. Okay. So without error, so it has created a roles. Now this created a role, but can we able to see that role here? See this one? No, right? we cannot able to see that role because this role is not assigned to the Snowflake 7 user, right? We will see that how to assign the role to the user. Now what we have done, just we created a role. Okay, so masking pulse we will come again. So let's create a table here. We will create a table. So this what we are doing, we are creating a table under the class under public schema. We are creating employee information. We have ID, joining date, department, salary, and then manager ID. So these are the columns we are having in this table. And then let's insert some data into this. We have data also. Now we are trying to insert data. Now let's check the data here, refresh it, and then employees info. So this is the table. Now observe the data. We have department number and then we have salary, right? So for some of the roles, so we want to hide the salary information. Some of the roles, we want to hide the department information. So we don't want to display that. So for the analyst, so or for the testers, so from which department this person employee ID is. So then we have to hide this information. So any PA, so here we are doing it for the sample table, right? Any personal identifiable information, so we are going to hide generally. Okay, so now we have a table, and then so we created a roles, and then we know that so for what we need to create a masking policy for the salary, for the department, right? Okay, so now so let's come to this. So we need to what we need to do now. So we need to give the grant permission. This table we have created, but so which role we are here with the account admin, right? With the account admin, this is the super user. By default, you can able to access, right? When you observe, select star from table. So what is the table? Employee info. You sorry, you can able to access the details here. Now observe this. When you so run this, you can able to access the details, right? Because account admin is having permission to access that this particular table. The same way we need to give the grant permission to so these roles, right? These roles, analyst, business, and then developer. Then only these roles can able to access this particular table, otherwise they cannot. So these are the roles. So what you can able to see, default roles. These things by default you will have the permission to everything. But these roles we created newly. So these roles we need to give the grant permission to access the table. Then only these roles can able to access that. So for that we will give the grant permissions. Now observe this grant. What we need to do is so grant, we are giving the grant permissions, select table. So this is the database. So schema. So we can remove this. We are connected to the database. We connected to the schema. So let's observe this database and schema. And so we are having so grant select on table. See this one. So this is the table name. So what we are giving? So this is the table name to the role, right? Analyst, business, and developer. So these are the roles, right? Analyst, business, and developer. So we are giving grant select permissions to this table. It means you can able to fetch the information from this table. So when you fire a select statement on this table, these roles can able to access. That's the meaning of this. We are giving grants. If you don't give this, then so we cannot able to by using these roles, you cannot able to so get the data. Now observe this now, right? Okay, so that done. So the roles, so have the permissions to grant the table. Okay, so now this role is fine. So then these roles, so this particular user. So if you observe here, can we able to? So this is the user Snowflake 7. So can you able to see the roles here? No, right? So these roles we created, but these roles we didn't assign it to the user, right? So for that, what we need to do this. So now we have to give the username here. So what is the username? Snowflake 7 is the user. So this is the user. So what we have to do, we are giving the grant permission to these roles for this particular user. So this is the user, right? This is grant role. So business analyst and developer to user. It means this user can able to access this particular roles. That is the meaning of this. Now observe this, we are giving a grant permission. So generally these things will be done by any senior person in the team. It will not be given to the everyone. Now observe this. So once the roles is created, so these roles again so assigned to this user. So once it is done, so just check, can you able to access this? No, right? Let it refresh. So or so just log out and then log in. Now we are logging in. Okay, now observe this, connected to account admin. Now observe, say this. Now you can able to see the roles which you have created: analyst, business, and developer. These roles is available, right? Now these roles you can able to see by using this user, Snowflake 7 user, right? So what are the roles you need to assign to the specific user, you can assign like this. So maybe in your organization you may have developers, and then different developers will be there, testers will be there, and then analysts will be there, the users will be there, right? You may have n number of developers. So each and every developer you can restrict. So what are the things he can able to perform? So what are the roles he can able to perform? So now observe this. So this particular user can able to access these things. But in so when you are working in any project, you may be restricted to any one of this. Any one of this. It based on the organization, the roles. Okay. You may not see everything here. Right here we can able to see everything, but in organization when you are working in project you may see so one or two based on your so designation. Okay, so now so here so we have given this particular role to this particular the users. Okay, so what next? Now okay, this particular user can able to access these roles. So but what about this database permission? Okay, these roles we can able to access. If I log in with the role, can I able to access this database? Can I able to access this schema? Can I able to access this table? No, by default it will not be there. Again, you need to give the permission for the database, and then for the schema, and then for the table. So now, so let's give the permissions for that. Now observe this, what we are giving. At the same time, for the warehouse also, for the warehouse also. So you need to give the permission. So compute warehouse, so business analyst developer. For all the roles, we are giving permission to access the warehouse. Now observe this carefully. In a organization, so you may have like a 3 to 4 virtual warehouses. It will not be the only one. If you observe here, you can able to see only one here, right? When you are working with resource monitoring option, resource monitoring section, so in the next sessions, this one, resource monitoring. So we will work with, we will see how to create a different resource monitors and different warehouses. It means for the developers, they will have a one virtual warehouse. For the testers, you will have one virtual warehouse. For the so users, they will have the separate virtual warehouse. And then for the data load, you may have separate virtual warehouse, right? It means all the developer has to use this particular virtual warehouse. Let's assume that. Then only they can able to easily trace it back. Now here, what we are doing, this virtual warehouse, it has to be assigned to the role, right? And then this role is assigned to the user, right? So then, so here observe this particular virtual warehouse has to be used by this particular role. Now we are assigning grant permission to the virtual warehouse also. Now this is fine. Now next, so the database, what about the database? What about the schema and then table, right? Table already we have given the permission, right? Table we have given the permission to grant. So now we need a database and then schema level, right? So let's give the grant permission to the database the same way schema level. This is the database. And then, so for the schema level, so this one, so class is our database. So we are giving grant usage database. See this one, grant usage database, the database name class to the role business. So it means for these roles can able to access this database. Now observe this. So this is the grant permissions we are giving. Now this is the right. These are the grant permissions we have given. Okay. So once this grant permissions is done, then so for the database is done. Next, for the schemas we need to create, right? To do that for the schemas, now observe this. This is for the schema. What is the schema? So here it is a public. So where we have created in a public we have created. So public. This is for public. For this particular schema again, we are giving grant permission. Now understand this carefully. So what we have done, we created a table, employee information, we created a table, employee information, right? This particular table we created and we have inserted some data by using account admin role, right? Now, so when you created a new role, so we need that role to be, so these are the roles what we have created when you're creating a role. So remember, so we need to create a roles by using account admin. So once we created a role, these roles need to be accessed for this particular table, right? For that, so grant select permissions. So this role can able to access the table. This role can able to so assign to this particular user. This is the user, right? You may have a number of users in an organization, right? So let's assume that each and every developer or tester who is working on a Snowflake, they are all the users, right? For this table, you need to give the, so for this role, you need to give the grant permission. The role we have given a grant permission. Right? The same way, for the role has to given the grant permission for the warehouse and then database and then schema and then for the table, so we have given the grant permission to select, and then for the role we have given a grant permission. For the warehouse we have given a usage permission, it means we can use this, and then for the so database we have given the usage permission. So this usage on, so grant usage on schema, it means these roles can able to access this database, access this warehouse, access the table data, and then access the schema. And then these roles are assigned to this Snowflake 7 user. If you don't assign this role to the user, then what will happen? So when you logged in with this particular account, and then if you see the roles, you cannot able to see it here. Now we have another user also, test user. But so if you go and then if you check with that user, you cannot able to see all the roles which we have created now, because so this is the reason. So the roles we have to give the permission to the user. Then only that user can able to access the roles. Now we have given, so we created a roles and then we created a grant permissions for the all the things. Now these users, this particular roles can able to access the table details, right? Okay. So now, okay, coming to this masking policy, what we need to, what is our main intention with the roles? We want to restrict the data by seeing some of the roles for the salary, some of the roles for the department, right? That is our main intention for the restriction. So based on column level, remember this is based on a column level restriction. So when we are doing that, okay, so what we need to do is we need to create a masking policy first. Now observe this. So we need to create a masking policy. So now we are creating a masking policy. This is the statement. So this is the syntax for the creating masking policy. Create or replace masking policy numbers. This is the name of the masking policy. You can give any name here. And then value, if the value is number, return number. That is the syntax. And then in the body, now observe what are the roles we are assigning to this masking policy. For this masking policy, we are assigning business role and then account admin role. It means, so when your role is business or account admin, then only value, display the value. Otherwise, display this one. Observe this. So this value means if the value is number, value is number. So this is a data type, right? The return, the same thing, number only. Return number only. And if the value is number, then display the number if so role is business or account admin. Only for these roles, display the as it is value. Nothing but a, so like salary, display the same salary. If the role is other than account admin and business, like developer or analyst, then display this value. That is the syntax what we are giving here. That is the statement what we are creating in a masking policy. Just we are creating a masking policy. These masking policies can be applied on n number of tables. There is no limitation. See this one. Now the masking numbers policy is created. This masking number policy. If you apply this masking policy for any table, then if their role is business or account admin, then only they can see the actual value. If they are logged in with any other roles, they cannot able to see. This is for the numbers. The same way, so what is the another thing? So for the department number also we need to hide. For that, that is a string, right? So for that, so we will create a separate masking policy. So we discussed, right? For the strings, we need to create a separate masking policy. For the numbers, we need to create a separate masking policy. Now observe this. So we are creating this for the characters. So this is for string masking. Same thing. Syntax is same. Create or replace masking policy. This is the masking policy name. If the value is, observe this. If the value is string, then return a string value. When it has to be written string, when, see this case, when current role is, if it is a role is business or developer or account admin, then only value. If the role is, for example, analyst, so we have a analyst. If the role is analyst, display the department as stars. That is the meaning of this. Now, so we created this masking policy number. Now we are creating another masking policy. So for the string, now we have two masking policies. One is for number, another one is for string, right? Within the masking policy, what we are assigning within the masking policy, we are so assigning this masking policy to the roles, right? Next, what we need to do, so once it is the roles applied, then this masking policy need to be applied for the table and then columns, within the table and then columns. Okay, so now masking policy we created. Then so what is the next thing? So we'll see so how to so apply this masking policy for any specific table. Now observe this. What we are doing is alter, when you are applying masking policy, see this one, alter table if exist. If exist, one more thing, we are giving if exist here, right? If your masking policy, when you are applying only for the table, if exist will come. If you are doing it for a view, you can apply this masking policy for the views also. So in the so next session we will see that how to do that. When you are applying the masking policy for the views, if exist is not required. If exist is not required, always remember. So this if exist is not required, what we will give is alter view, just view name and then remaining things. Here for the table, what we are giving, alter table if exist. This is the table name. This is the table name. And then modify column salary. We are applying for a salary and set masking policy numbers. What we are assigning, masking numbers. This one, masking numbers. See this one, policy, masking numbers. This is a masking policy. masking policy, this masking numbers masking policy, we are applying for this particular salary column in this particular table. That is the meaning of this. So we are applying masking policy numbers for this particular column, salary column in this particular table. Then when you apply this, now observe this, alter table if exist, we are trying to apply. So now we have applied the masking policy, right? Now once it is this numbers is applied, so then strings, again you need to apply for the strings what we discussed. So we cannot apply masking policy for all the columns at the same time, one by one only we have to do that. If you want to apply masking policy for 5 columns, you need to apply one by one. All together you cannot able to do. Now so observe, applying masking policy for the string if exist, alter table if exist, table name, modify column, department. Observe this, for the department number, we are applying masking policy. So masking strings policy, we are applying for the column, department column in this particular table. So now let's apply this. Now both the masking policies has been applied, right? So now if you observe this, so let's, so now which role we are in? Account admin role, right? Now let's change the role. Use role. What are the roles we have here? Account admin, business analyst, and then developer. Let's change the role to business. What we have done, use role business. You can so select it from here also. You can select it from here, drop down list also, you can select the role. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, just use the keyword use role business. Now what is the role here? Business role. Now with the business role, let's try to get the data. Select star from, so what is the table? Employee info. Now observe this. Now the role is business. Observe this here. We are in the database, we are in this schema. And then, so here, now when you observe, so this is the user. Snowflake 7 is the user. Now observe this. With the business, we can able to see both the data, right? We can able to see department number, we can able to see the salary. Business. Now change the role to developer. Now we are changing the role to the developer. Now observe this role we are changing. Now the role it's changed to the developer. See this one here. Now it's changed. Now let's try to execute the developer role. Observe this. Developer, can he able to see the salary information? No. So what it is displaying? All are with the nines. All are with the nines. Why it is so displaying nines here? See this. When you given the role to the developers, when it is salary, right? For the salary, see this one. So only if role is business or account admin, then only they can able to see the values. So right. So and then if other than the role, any other role, business or account admin, other than this any other role, display the salary value as this, right? Now what is the role here? This role is developer role. See this one, this role is developer role. For the developer role, what it will display? It will display all the names, the same thing if you can able to see it here.
Dinesh,
Yeah,
sharing.
sure. Sorry,
Please share the screen again.
just a minute. You cannot able to see
We have lost your screen here. Yeah. Now
now.
it's back now.
Oh, okay, fine. Sorry for that. Okay. So now observe this one. So when the role is developer, now we are in a role developer, right? And then when you are in a role developer, now when you execute this, now observe this, the salary we can, it's been hidden, right? It is giving some other value. Why it is happening? If you observe the role developer, see this one, for the salary what we have given here for the numbers masking policy applied for the salary, this is applied for the salary. What is the policy applied? Masking numbers. What is in masking numbers? What it is telling is, if the role is business or account admin, then only display the value. But what is the role here? Developer. For the developer, what is it has to display? It has to display these names, right? That's why you can able to see the values here. For example, let's change the role to another role is also there, right? Analyst. So we have another role, analyst we have created. So when you change the role to analyst, let's change the role to analyst. Now the role has been changed to analyst. So it will come connected to the database and schema also. Now it's connected to the database and schema. Now what is the role? Analyst. So with the role analyst, now let's try to check the data here. Now observe this. So with the role analyst, so here, sorry. Now observe this one. Can he able to see the department data? No, right? Can he able to see the salary data? No, right? Analyst cannot able to view any information, salary as well as department number. Other information he can able to see. So this is the column level security we are implementing. Column level security we are implementing. Okay. So this is we will call it as a masking or dynamic masking. Now if you observe, so one thing here, whatever the data it is inserting into the table, by default the policies will be applied for these roles for these users. Now, so if you observe for the analyst, see this one, analyst, so you can, it is not included here in the policy. Again, here also analyst is not included. It means analyst cannot able to see the values, and then he cannot able to see the values for the strings. It means for this department number, for the salary. Now we have applied masking policy. So for this particular table, so based on this particular masking policies. Now, if you observe these two masking policies, one is the number and then one is the string. These two masking policies, both the masking policies, so we have applied for this particular table, right? So for this particular table, so both the policies like this, you can create a number of masking policies. There is no limit. You can apply all the masking policies for the specific table, but you need to do it by one only. Okay, so this is also how we can able to apply masking policy. And so once the masking policy is applied, you can able to unset the masking policy also. If you don't want to give this information, we can able to unset also, and we can able to recreate the masking policy also. Now we have included account admin here. If I want to include another role called system admin, we can able to do that we can able to modify it. That we will see that in the next session also. Now just it is very important, just understand what we have done here. First, what we have done, we created a roles, right? For the roles, so what we have done, so once the roles is created, so once when you created a table, we have given a grant permission to table. We have given grant permission to access the table, right? So then we have given this roles, so grant permission to grant to user, right? User. So the same roles we have given to the user. For the roles, then for the warehouse, right? The access to the warehouse, then access to the database, then access to the schema, right? Schema. So all these things is required when you created a role. When you created any role, so remember always for that particular role, we need to give the permission to the table to access the table, to access the database, to access that particular, to user, we need to assign to the user. You have given all these things, but you didn't assign to the user. That user cannot able to access. So what is the user here? This Snowflake user. For example, we have another user called test, right, which we have created initially. If you remember, let me log into that user. Now this is the user, and now we are logging with the another user, right? In organization, you may see a number of users will be available in a same account. Like for example, so whoever is working. Now observe this particular user. Now still I am in a account admin, and then observe this one. So I cannot able to see any of the roles here because that roles is not assigned to this particular user. The same way, so when you join in organization, when you are working in a Snowflake account, Snowflake project, so your so based on your role, you they may give the one or two roles to you. So you can able to see only those roles only. So not every role which it is created. So for that, what we have to do here, let me log into click 7, then so this is a password. What we have to do for that, so we need to give the permissions. Sorry, we need to give the user grant to the user. Then that particular role has to access the warehouse, database, and then schema. So like this, we have to give the permission. Once it is done, then what we need to do? We need to create masking policy. So this is the thing. Masking policy, once you when you are creating, what you are giving within the masking policy, you are assigning for the specific roles. This masking policy, when you are creating, if you observe, see this one, when you are creating a masking policy itself, we are assigning to the specific roles. This masking policy we are assigning to specific roles, right? Once we have assigned to the specific roles, then what we need to do? We need to apply this masking policy. Apply masking policy for column. So this column in specific table. This is the process. This is the approach. So in most of the interviews, they will ask this approach. And then sometimes, so if it is, for example, so generally sometimes what will happen is in any interviews, so if they say they may ask you to, so maybe so create a so roles and then give the permissions, so where you can able to do that. So or they will ask us to explain the approach, what exactly you need to do when you want to create a masking policy. If you want to apply masking policy for any specific column, this is nothing but so masking, or we can call it as a dynamic masking. Now one more thing you need to remember. Now so already we have applied for this table, right? You can able to see this. Suppose if I insert the new records to the tables, it doesn't matter until the policy is applied on this particular table. So whether you have inserted any new record also, by default, the policy will be applied for the new records also. Okay, the same policy is applied. So until you unset, so this is we set the masking policy. Until you unset, the masking policy will be still, it will be applied on the table. Okay, so what, so we have discussed this is the thing what we have discussed. Next, in the next session we will see how to recreate a masking policy, how to so apply the masking policy for the views also we will take, and after that how to alter that. So we will see the remaining things in the next session. Any questions here?
In which scenario we need to apply the masking policies basically?
Okay, so basically if you want to hide some information from any so users, then we will apply. So these things will be given by the business users. So when you are so fetching the some data, when you are loading some data into the table, already some data is available in the tables. So we don't want to so display this information to everyone. Okay, then we can hide that information.
This information is for end user or the developers?
So it depends. So so for example, developer don't want to so see my information. So whatever the information is there, for example, in any organization information, for all the employees salary will be there. That should not be displayed to everyone,
Yeah,
right?
even
In that case,
SSN number also.
exactly. So in that
Yeah.
case, so they will so apply the masking policy on that particular column.
And who
Dinesh,
will do the, let's say developer need not to see that information, right? Then admin has to give the policy to the developer to
Yes,
restrict to. Okay,
exactly.
okay, got it.
hey, what is the information schema table that will have the list of maskings that we created, or and also the roles that we created and stuff?
So come again. What is the?
information schema table that will have the list of maskings that we created and the roles that we created and stuff.
So this one, so you are talking about this particular information schema?
Yeah.
This one? Okay.
Yeah.
This information schema, it contains always the high level information. So what we are like creating this, for example, if you create any tasks, if you create any like streams, everything will be available here. So if you want to get back, so if you want to see those details, you can able to see it here. So any object, for example, if you create any views, those views information will be here. And then so storage
specifically,
material.
if I want to see what are all the maskings that we have created, so like show we like to show tasks. It'll give all the tasks. So for how to see all masking, so show masking policies.
Show masking policies.
Okay. And show roles. Show roles also.
Yeah, definitely. Let me show.
Okay.
And Dinesh,
yeah.
Dinesh, how many how much percentage is completed the course? Still, how many topics are left?
We can say that 40% we can say that.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there an advanced topics also there in this session? Upcoming sessions?
Yes. So when we are connecting integration object, right? So remaining, so all these things are the advanced only.
So
like creating the AWS and then Azure integration. So and then data sampling, data sharing. So creating a metlage view, all these things we will see that. So mainly resource monitoring. All these are the like features.
We are completed 11 topics in the list. Can you share your screen again?
Yeah, same thing.
11 topics, right?
Yeah. These first like so up to 5. So all are same. So these are the different topics. So up to 5 the same thing. So we can able to like same loading the information into the table.
And my request is to spend more time on the advanced topics so that that will be more advantage.
Okay.
I mean, the basic information anyway we'll get it from the online or somewhere in the website.
That is
but
true.
more specifically more into develop. I mean, in the real time scenarios and that advanced topics.
So whatever we are discussing, right? The same thing. So what exactly we are going to do it in real time? The same thing we are implementing here. So you saw that today, right? What exactly we are doing the same way. Okay. So we'll discuss each and every functionality and then each and every scenarios.
Sure. Thank you.
Dinesh, the question is like as this is a data warehouse database system, right? So do we follow some kind of standard like fact dimension concept while storing data?
It depends on the project, Ashish. So generally, sometimes what will happen is directly just they will whatever the data is available in the files or in any other tables, just they will dump into the tables. Okay, they won't follow. It's kind of one-to-one load will be there, right? If they required any like a schema kind like a start schema or Snowflake schema, as you said, dimension and facts. So it depends on the project architecture. First they need to load it into the dimension tables, then they have to load it into the factor tables. It will be like that.
Yeah, if it is our reporting repository, I mean, so kind of data warehouse, so then we follow that standard, right? Standard the approach Snowflake or Star Schema. Okay.
Dinesh, this is general question.
Yeah, sure. Tell me.
I mean, for learning as a Snowflake developer, any other technologies we need to grow parallelly?
It is not mandatory, so but
the
database knowledge is sufficient. If you have the SQL queries, how to write the queries, that is more than enough. Okay.
Even for the interviews also, right? I mean,
Yeah,
after completing the
that is more than enough.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about the general question. So, like you are saying that the business team is going to give the requirement as to provide the privilege to the developers, and so this masking will be done from the business people end or it from the developers end?
Okay. So generally what will happen is the admins, right? So whoever is like working in so for any specific account, so it will so go from the business level. So exactly if they want to restrict everything from their control, so then admins will be from the business side.
Okay,
Otherwise,
so as
if
a
they,
developer, I don't get a chance to.
yeah, exactly. So if they trust us and then if they given the like access to any one of the senior person, so then it will be with us.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Dinesh, Sarwan here. So,
Yes,
my
Ravan.
question is here you have given grant access on
Mm.
different levels, like where you have given first for warehouse, later
Correct.
database
Mm.
and schema. So, once
Mm.
you given access to the database or schema level,
Mm.
do the user will get access to all the tables, or we need to specific which tables you need that
But
access?
we need to specify.
Okay.
So what all the tables he has to so get the access. Then only he can able to see that. So that's why we have given initially. So if you observe here, so we have given for the table access. See this one. So this particular thing for the table we have given the access.
Yeah.
And Dinesh, I have seen that we can provide the table level grant permission access from the UI also, right? So in the database tab, so can you go to
Mhm.
your screen? Uh, yeah, uh, in the database, the left side.
Mm.
No, in the menu, I'm asking the
Okay,
database.
here. Okay.
Yeah, here we are able to see that
Sure.
we can provide the privilege from here also, right?
Mhm. Yes, yes, we can do that. So for the users, we can give any specific permissions, like we can assign it to account admin or so some other. So if you go to the database, we can go to the table. So just so here, so we have those only the schema stages file formats option is there, right? And then
Mm.
so see this here, the granted, the
Yes,
privileges. So
yes.
we can edit and we can able to give it here.
Okay. Yeah. So we will get all the options whatever we have done now. So like
Yeah, we will
providing
get
data.
all the options. Whatever we are doing here, the every
Mm.
option, so we can able to get it by using so this option also. So here the plus symbol is there at grant
Yes,
privileges.
yes, yes.
Here analyst and business and developer, we have given the grant permission. The same thing, so we can able to do it here also. And at the same time, we can able to create a users and roles also here. See this one in account. If you go here, you can able to create a users. So this one roles, right? So users,
Yes.
we can able to create it here. Okay.
Okay.
And then when you created a role, so specific role, we can assign to the so which so particular this particular role. So what is the main role? Okay, so we can able to do that.
Okay.
This particular thing. So I did grants. So we can able to implement it here.
And will it be possible we can apply conditional masking like a user is from North America region, and I want
And
them to see everything, and for the rest of the users, I want to mask the data.
okay, got your question. But that regional level restriction is not available here. Only the rows and then so role level based on users. That's it. Users we can able to do that. So in that particular case, what we can do is so as your requirement, the North America users, we can mention this particular user is from this particular North America. Then we can apply for that specific users.
So you
That
mean
we
to say
can
we should have two separate role to handle this?
exactly.
Okay.
Then we can differentiate it. You can see the question in chat window just a minute.
And if a user belongs to two different group, for example, two different user role, which one will get preference? How we can handle that? For one user, the grant is given. For one, it is not given. So he's
That,
not directly. He's part of both the group, right? But he's logging with his user ID.
we can log in with the user. So so for the different roles. So this is the user Snowflake 7. So but you can so go with the any one of the role at the same time, one time, right? In one time we cannot able to log in with the both the users. Sorry, both the roles. That is not possible.
No, my question, let me, rephrase my question again. Like he's just a user. I have a reporting layer like Tableau or TQ. He's accessing, I have developed the report. Now he's
Okay.
trying to run the report. He's hitting the database, and both the role he's part of. So he's not deciding the role. The system is deciding, right? He's part of
Correct.
which role.
Mm.
So how it will be like which role will get preference? Or he'll be able to see the data because he's part of both the group. How will it be the result? I mean.
No. So the thing is, so we are going to, so we will not give, so as your, so intention, so the both the roles, the both the users, right? In that case, we have to separate the roles and then users. So then only, so we can, if you assign the both the things, it will be like a conflict, right?
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone? Just a minute. I cannot able to view the chat window. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure about this DB2, Satya. So maybe, so you can check, is it a column level or the complete table level? So access we can restrict for the table level. So what I know is table level and the database level, we can so give the restriction of the access. But the column level, so I'm not sure about DB2.
No. Dinesh, same set of policies will apply in DB2 also.
Oh, okay, fine.
So column, it is in column level only.
Then that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.